E como a gente prometeu aqui no Megafone, a gente vai trazer aqui para você, nesse quadro de sala de bate-papo do Megafone, essa figura mais do que icônica. É isso mesmo, o Tony Davis. O Tony Davis é um doutor, pastor, ele é de tudo. E faz filmes. Fez e faz filmes. E o que mais chamou a atenção foi o filme O Poder do Perdão. I Forgive. É um filme maravilhoso e a história desse homem, eu vou falar pra você. A história desse homem aqui é incrível. Esse homem é o seguinte, esse homem, ele sobreviveu 5 tiros. Assiste o filme que você vai entender o que eu tô falando. Tanto na TV Fé e Luz, como na VV8, vai passar o filme dessa figuraça, desse ser humano que sobreviveu 5 tiros. Né? Ele quase que foi amputado, quase que teve que tirar a perna dele, mas não tiraram. Sabe por que não tiraram? Porque Deus interviu. Deus entrou no meio e falou assim, não, você não vai morrer, você não vai nem ficar aleijado, porque você prometeu aqui nesse momento que eu estava reunido com você aqui do outro lado, no além, você me prometeu que você iria cumprir a minha missão. Então, por causa disso, eu te dei a oportunidade de andar de novo, de falar de novo. O cara iria perder a fala, ele iria praticamente vegetar. Mas Deus pegou e falou pra ele, tá bom, eu vou te deixar andar, eu vou te deixar falar, desde que você escuta essa, desde que você faça e prometa que você vai fazer a minha missão na Terra. So, I don't know if I said it correctly. I mean, if my version of this story is accurate, because I'm basing the introduction in the Portuguese upon the film, which I watched the night before this interview. So the question is, did I say it accurately? Let me just translate everything I said. So I said, I might as well just ask you whether the movie is accurate. Oh, by the way, welcome to Brazil. Welcome to Megafone. We're delighted to have you, Tony Davis.
Thank you, brother Rodrigo. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah, so now we can move on. So I was explaining in Portuguese to the audience that you've survived 5 gunshots, and the doctor said that it was a miracle that you survived. I mean, if you even survived, that would have been a miracle. But not only did you survive, but you also left the hospital not paraplegic, meaning God did something in your life, because that was the version of the film, and I wonder if that's exactly how it happened. God spoke to you, and God told you to promise him that you were going to fulfill his mission, to fulfill a mission that he had for you. So, and then because of that, you left the hospital not only walking but also talking, whereas the doctor said to your family that wasn't going to happen, that you were going to be paraplegic, and you would be like a plant for the rest of your life. So is that really the case? Did the movie really portray your story like it actually was?
That is totally true. The only thing is, instead of 5 bullets, it was a total of 10 holes, because each bullet that went in came out. So I ended up with 10 holes in my body. But everything else you said is totally correct. My left leg's supposed to be amputated. I don't supposed to be able to talk anymore. But when I forgave, that's when my healing came back to my body. And I'm going forth and doing what God has called me to do. He purposed me to do, which is share a message of I forgive. I died for a total of 30 minutes, is what the doctors told me. You're totally right. They was going to amputate my left leg, and they told me I would never be able to talk anymore. But 12 o'clock midnight, before they were going to amputate my leg, I had a visitation from God in my room. And he said one word, and that was forgive. I wrestled with forgiveness, but when I forgave, healing came in my body, and I was able to forgive. It's like I released it. I let go, and I let God, and my leg came back to life. I can run and jump on the ledge, and my voice came back because I am also a gospel singer.
Então o que acontece aqui é o seguinte, ele, na verdade, ele não... A história do filme é isso mesmo. O filme ele é meio que como se fosse uma imagem ali real do que aconteceu com ele. Claro que no cinema a gente sempre faz aquela... inclusive eu tenho aqui do meu lado, assim, nessa conversa aqui, eu tenho uma convidada, mas assim, eu falo que nós dois somos do cinema, né, da área desse ramo aí das artes cênicas, né? Então, assim, no cinema tudo é aumentado, mas mesmo aumentando, a história que foi contada no filme é bem realista. Ele teve 10 furos ali na perna dele, né? Por causa dos 5 tiros que ele levou. Como que isso acontece? Enfim, é médico, quem entende de arma, entende de tiro, vai saber explicar melhor. Mas o fato é que ele teve lá... Ele recebeu esses 5 tiros e o médico falou pra ele, ó, vivo esse rapaz não sai daí, né? Aliás, e se ele sair com vida, se ele não vegetar, é muito. E eles iriam amputar a perna do homem. Iriam amputar, eles iriam fazer... enfim, eles iriam fazer um monte de coisa. Amputação, parece que iriam tirar as cordas vocais dele, tem essa ainda. Eles iriam tirar as cordas vocais. E aí o médico... Aconteceu que quando ele acordou, né, milagrosamente... Ele estava normal, as cordas vocais normais, e ele estava andando. Né, assim, andando que eu falo, as pernas estavam funcionando. E o médico já estava pronto para amputar a perna, mas ele contou que ele recebeu uma visita divina. Ele recebeu uma visita divina por volta que ele morreu por meia hora, né? Nessa meia hora que ele estava morto, ele recebeu uma visita divina. E aí, essa visita divina, Deus falou para ele, ó, se você perdoar os assassinos, assim, os gangsters, você vai voltar a andar. Eu te prometo que eu não vou deixar nada acontecer com você. E essa foi a missão dele, então. E aí basicamente, ele começou a levar a sério o seu ministério de fé. E hoje ele conta para nós aqui esse testemunho, não só na TV Fé e Luz, mas já teve em várias TVs no mundo todo. E eu tenho aqui uma pergunta de uma convidada nossa. É a Júlia Manzano. A Júlia Manzano, ela é, como eu tinha explicado aqui no começo, ela é do ramo do cinema. E eu vou pedir para a Júlia, antes de mais nada, se apresentar, antes de fazer a pergunta aqui para o nosso convidado, mais do que especial.
Olá, boa tarde. Meu nome é Júlia, como ele falou. Eu tenho 20 anos e me formei em artes cênicas em 2021. E agora fui convidada para participar dessa entrevista. Queria, primeiramente, agradecer por essa oportunidade. E posso fazer a pergunta já?
Pode sim já, Júlia.
Ok. Então, quero primeiro agradecer também pelo filme, porque esse filme foi bem diferente de tudo que eu já acostumei a assistir. E eu acredito que é extremamente importante abordar o assunto da violência na vida dos jovens. E como a gente não é apenas carne, então essa dualidade do cuidado espiritual e carnal foi incrível. O filme todo parece ser feito exatamente para falar diretamente com os jovens. Isso que eu acho que é diferencial. Então, como foi falar da violência, mesmo sabendo que tem diversas opiniões sobre esse assunto e que muitas pessoas poderiam abordar de forma ruim a intenção do filme?
So let me translate her question. She is 20 years old, and the reason she enjoyed this film, and by the way, she is also studying scenic arts, meaning she's also studying theater and why not cinema. So, and she is eager to become a screenplay writer. So to her, your film was beyond inspiring in several realms, starting from, stemming from a youngster, a 20-year-old lady, Brazilian, a 20-year-old living in Brazil. She said that she liked the fact that the film depicted gang violence and how the youth gets, get convoluted, how the youth gets caught up in crime. So they think crime is justifiable, and so she was touched by this, and by the fact that you've depicted violence in your film. So she asked you if you have any message for the youth, or whether you have, if you've encountered any challenges while trying to portray violence or trying to talk about violence in this feature film.
Oh yes. Since my incident, I go to schools, I go to juvenile halls, I go to jails, I go to outreach communities. I do all kinds of things across the U.S. As I do the screening of my film, I do this thing called a Q&A. At the end of the film, we do a Q&A, questions and answers, and I take questions from the youth. Even at the jail cells or at the juvenile hall, and I love to answer questions. They ask me, did I see God, or how did it feel to get shot? I get all kinds of questions like that, and I explain to them that no, I didn't see God, but I could feel His presence. It's almost like wind blowing across your skin, right? And as far as bullets, it felt like hot iron going through my body. It was very difficult, especially when I took my last breath on the ground, when I laid in a pool of blood, because I bled out on the streets. And that is where I died, and I had my out-of-body experience. So from that, I go to a lot of places with our young people, and I changed some minds. I've had some young folks that come up to me and say, you know what? I don't want to be a part of a gang. I have some young people to come to me and say, I'm done. I would never do that again. I said, that's right, because think about this. You are destroying your community. You are hurting your own people in your community. What if that was your grandmother or your father or your sister or your best friend getting shot for no reason? How do you feel about that? And it puts a thought in their minds about what they're doing. And a lot of them, I'm seeing a lot of them changing their mindset, and some of them follow me. I still encourage some of them. I have some that still knuckleheads. I call them hard-headed, and I still try to force them out of being a part of that lifestyle. I had one of my recipients that I kind of like mentor to. He had to leave the city because they was going to kill him if he stayed in a gang over in another city. And I was glad that he moved out of the city, and now his life has gotten a whole lot better. He has his own business now, and he's doing a lot of great things. So I encourage youth, I encourage everyone that's willing to listen and hear my message of forgiveness, because forgiveness is not a feeling, right? You're not going to feel like forgiving someone that shot you or did you wrong. That's not a good feeling. But forgiveness is a choice. I choose to forgive. So when you choose to forgive, it's like letting go of the hurt, the pain, the why me. And for me, it lifts something off the shoulders and you feel a lot better about life.
Indeed. And, well, in the film, it never showed whether you encountered the shooter. But so did you actually try to seek the shooter and say in person that you forgave him, like Pope John Paul II did? You know the story, right? John Paul II was shot in the square in St. Peter's Square, and he sought the shooter to forgive him. So did you do that too? Did you seek to be face to face with the shooter to say to his face that you were going to forgive him?
Oh yes. Actually, at the end of the film, you would see Tony, the actor Tony, of course. He went to the house, and this is strange, and I know this is weird. It blew me away. I went there with a Bible. It's a true story. I went there with the Bible in my hand, thinking that I would talk to those gang members, right, and change their lives. Because I said to myself, "Hey, if God brought me back, if this thing is real, right? If He gave me my leg is back alive, my voice. There's something real about this. So I'm gonna see just how bold it can be, right?" So about a month later, I didn't even tell my family, my wife. I just went over there, right? I prayed. I went over there with the Bible in my hand, and there was yellow tape around the house, right? Yellow tape. And I'm like, what happened here? I'm wondering, like, what happened to those guys that was hanging out at the house? And a homeless person came out of nowhere. That was the guy that you saw at the end of the film. He was pushing a cart, and he said, "Those are your people?" And I'm like, "Who is this guy?" I'm like, "No, I came to forgive." And what I found out was, and it's a true story, the guys that shot me, they was killed it was about 6 or 7 of them. All those guys were killed by another gang because they was going shooting other people and other gang members. So the gang members retaliated and came over to where they were and killed all of them. I'm like, wow, man, I wanted to forgive, let them know I forgive, and change their lives. But I believe God knows your heart, right? And I believe that some people are not going to change. So that's when God takes his arms from around you, and the devil just say, have his way. And unfortunately, the way was they got killed.
So perhaps the reason God came to you is because God wanted them to, because like if you hadn't forgiven them, perhaps they would have taken the burden to whatever they went when they passed away. So perhaps God wanted them to wanted their burden to be lessened. God wanted their burden to be a little bit lighter, a little softer. So that's probably the reason that God told you to forgive. As Catholics, we believe in purgatory, and but whether you believe in purgatory or just heaven and hell, I believe that when the person you wronged against forgives you, that kind of like sends a message to God that, okay, so your sins have somehow been forgiven. So now you have, you know what I'm saying, to the eyes of God, it probably shows some kind of mercy from your side. And I don't know, maybe that's, as a Catholic, I see it that way. I don't know how I see it, but perhaps I want to believe that it helped them somehow. It helped their soul, and
Yes.
it helped their journey to heaven. I rather assume that.
Yes.
I'll translate most of it, Julia. Então, Julia, o que acontece? Ele estava falando sobre... A resposta que ele deu não foi necessariamente sobre o filme, né? Mas ele contou que... sobre esses atos de violência, que ele, né? Depois que ele saiu do hospital e abraçou essa missão, ele começou a visitar, sabe, essas instituições ali para jovens, sabe, FEBEMs, a começar por FEBEMs, esses YMCA, sabe, que é o YMCA, geralmente, enfim, é como se fosse instituição para jovem, né? Que mais? Aquelas casas de não é asilo para jovem, como chama aqueles negócios? Qual que é a palavra? Não é asilo, é abrigo, né? Abrigo.
Lares.
Isso, lares, exatamente.
Abrigo.
Lares de jovens abandonados, de jovens marginalizados. E ele começou a ir lá, fazer suas orações, pregações e ensinar as pessoas que o crime não compensa, né? Que não é por aí. Então ele tem, né, entrado nesse movimento, e a história dele em si já é suficiente para contar. Ele contou então posteriormente que no filme não mostra, mas essa gangue aí de 7 pessoas morreram todos. Todos, não sobrou nenhum. A hora que ele foi lá, porque ele tentou ir lá pra falar que ele tinha perdoado, ele iria pregar pra eles. E o que acontece? Eles pegaram lá e a hora que ele chegou lá não tinha. Não tinha mais. Não tinha sobrado ninguém mais. Morreram todos. Então aí tá a mensagem. Aí eu falei pra ele, eu como católico acredito que é a questão de purgatório, né? Talvez isso tenha diminuído um pouco a sentença deles no purgatório, né? Então. E aí assim eu expliquei pra ele essa, né, a minha teoria pelo fato de eles terem morrido, que é algo assim que eu ficaria triste, né? De saber chegar lá e a gente tá lá na maior boa intenção e os caras estão mortos, né? Então,
Entendi.
se você quiser ir para sua próxima pergunta.
Ok, a próxima pergunta, eu queria saber como funcionou falar sobre Deus, Jesus. Qual foi a energia em passar a história e criar esse filme? Existiu alguma energia diferente durante as gravações?
I mean, her question is interesting and it's pretty much spiritual because um, you would assume that when you're filming something about Jesus, and especially this powerful story of yours, she was asking, did the actors or the people involved in filming this feature film, did they feel a special presence? Did they feel overwhelmed by some spiritual force somehow in the film, in the location, in the film set?
Oh yes, yes. There was 3 different moments. One of them was it was it was 3 o'clock in the morning, right, in this part of California called Compton. Compton is known as a dangerous area. Some parts of it, right? A lot of gang members and stuff like that. But they wanted to get that scenery of the feeling of that area. So they filmed there, and there was a scene where when I got shot, right, and it was hard for me to watch that scene because I had to watch the blood, all the blood, right? They had makeup. The blood was fluids that they use for blood, that thing. So they had put it all over the ground on Tony, the actor, and on the leg and all that. And when Tony began to scream, "Ah!" and they were like, everybody like froze up, and I saw some of them was crying. And when the angel scene came, when the angel appeared, right, and she came and she said, what did she say to Tony? Um, um, don't look back. And it just felt real spiritual when she said, "Let's go home." Oh, that was powerful moment. And then another moment that was really more powerful was when we did the scene at the end where Tony was like baptized in water. We did that in this location called Azusa Mountain. None of the actors knew, none of the filmmakers knew, and that area was actually known as a place where the Holy Spirit fell on America centuries ago. It was one of the scouts found the area. They didn't know anything about what we was doing. They just thought this would be a great scene for a baptism scene for a movie, right? So we went up there, and when Tony went down and came up with his hands up, um, I just seen actors just like, some of the crew, the film crew was like, wow. They said, this is like chills and it feels strange, and what is this, and they felt a presence, there just by doing that. Now, for me, not only do I feel a presence, but I saw a snake in that lake. Right? I'm looking at the scene like, there's a snake there, you know, because I was in the water as well. I was the guy with the hood and all that stuff on, the white on. But it was one of those moments like, okay, I need to get out of this water in case this snake is, you know. But it floated and went the other way, you know. But that was another moment. Then another, the third one was when we were walking, when Tony was walking through the rocks in the mountains, right? And the rocks represented the difficult times of life. And God says that I'm still with you no matter what. That was deep for me, man. And as I was walking through those rocks and things like that, it just felt like God was with me.
Qual foi a maior dificuldade durante todo o filme de passar essa vivência para as pessoas e até o momento que o filme foi para ser já assistido?
Did you folks have or come across hurdles? Did you folks have hurdles when producing this film? And not only within the production, not only production wise, but I'd say also, I would assume that when you were to sell this film, did you find difficulty selling this story to production companies, or did you have any hurdles, you know, between the moment you decided to tell your story to the world through film to the moment it was released? So were there any hurdles?
Yeah, you know, my experience with that was, first I did you know, my incident happened in 2003, right? That's when I got shot and all those things. It happened in 2003. I did a book called Heaven is Real that I wrote in around 2005. Yeah, I did a book, Heaven is Real. And from that book, I did a lot of shows. I don't know if you heard of TBN. TBN it's called Trinity Broadcasting Network. It's one of the world's largest. I did a lot of TBN. I did I don't know if you heard of Dr. Oz. So I've done 80 Bio, Discovery, 700 Club. So I did a lot of shows, right? But what happened was I was on TBN a lot, and I kept speaking this. See, people don't know that there's power. You know, the Bible said life and death is in the power of the tongue, right? We can speak life, like speak great things or happy things, or we can speak and think about negative things. So I choose life. So I begin to speak like on television. I said, someone is going to invest in me doing a film. I don't know where you are, but God told me in my spirit that someone is going to invest to do a film about my story. And all of a sudden, that's about 2 or 3 months of saying that all the time, a man called me from another state, and he told me God told him to invest into my film. I'm like, whoa. And so he came out, we started production. I met with the writers, I met with the crew, and he wrote out the check and he paid for the film, invested in the film, right? So it was like God was with me, just as he was with me all along through all of that difficulty. So the only difficult thing that I had the most was I kept clashing with the writer, you know, of my story, because certain things I wanted in the film he didn't do, and I know it could have got done, but he wanted to do it his way. He was getting so caught up in my story till he wanted to do it his. I said, no, I don't want it like that. Even my wife got into an argument with him, and we had to compromise on some things. So those were difficult moments, right? After it was done, I was connected. I had got calls from people that heard about my production already, distributors. And I was connected with this young, older gentleman that told me about this distributor called Bridgestone, BMG Global. So we had a meeting with them, and they offered me a deal to put the film out there across the platforms. And that's how it got out there. So at the end, when the film was done and ready, completed, I mean, mastered everything, you know, from the audio to the coloring of the film to it had to be totally, completely ready to go into theaters, right? It had to be ready for that. So when that was done, Bridgestone was ready, and I got offers from other PureFlix, other companies for years for trying to get my story, but they didn't offer no real money, and they wanted to take advantage of it, and I said, no, no, no. I kept saying no until Bridgestone said, well, we'll do a 50-50 thing. It wasn't the best, but it was better than what the others was offering. So that's how I was able to get my deal.
Oh, that's beautiful. Aí ele contou basicamente a experiência nele, né, de como que ele conseguiu ter esse trabalho, né, de como que ele conseguiu ter esse trabalho colocado no cinema, mas o grande... E ele já, na verdade, quando ele fez esse filme, recentemente, ele já trabalhava, né, ele já tinha produzido vários, ele listou algumas séries aí, não sei se... Mas, assim, é uma séries... mais assim, são umas séries bem conhecidas mundialmente falando. Então ele tinha um nome já no cinema, não foi. Ele não caiu de paraquedas, né, no cinema. Então para ele foi tranquilo ele conseguir patrocínio, conseguir gente ou mesmo equipe de produção interessada em colocar esse filme pra realidade, que eu já ia falar, não, é um cara do ramo, então é o cara que ele tá com o pezinho lá, já vamos dizer assim, em Hollywood, então pra ele é tranquilo, né, ter o seu filme produzido. Então a dificuldade dele, ele teve problemas ali, e até a esposa dele chegou a brigar com o escritor, né, justamente o roteirista. Porque o roteirista começou a querer, sabe, fazer... A gente pode até achar que o cara tentou fazer do jeito dele, mas talvez ele pensou de modo comercial. Não, isso aqui vai vender mais, isso aqui é mais interessante, né? E é normal que... Imagina você, né, que você tá começando aí no escrever roteiro, aí você recebe uma história forte como essa e você quer usar o seu conhecimento de teatro e de roteiro para você colocar o filme, ó, isso aqui dá certo, isso aqui não dá. E aí então começou a ter um atrito entre ele e a esposa, entre o escritor e ele mesmo, a esposa dele. E aí acabou que eles meio que viraram a cara, ficou uma coisa, né, meio assim, ficou aquela coisa meio que, né, certas coisas que ele queria ter colocado não colocou no filme, então ele ficou chateado por um lado, né? Algumas coisas, alguns momentos que ele teve não foram colocados no filme. E aí agora, na distribuição, né, do filme, ele teve dificuldades com algumas distribuidoras que queriam tirar a vantagem dele. Até que ele achou essa atual de Bridge, não sei o que, né, que tá aí que aparece no começo no intro do filme, né? E que aceitou assim, meio a meio. Agora eu vou perguntar pra eles, eu não sei se você tem uma outra pergunta, eu vou perguntar qual que era o orçamento do filme. So, what was the final budget? What was the budget of the film?
I got a lot of favor. People that love my story, let me put it like that. We had the budget that we had came up with in the beginning was like 500,000, right? But I was able to, oh my goodness, people was coming aboard just let me be a part, right? So I was able to get it under, let's say under $300,000. But that was because of a lot of favor. Oh my goodness. I mean, favor. Could I be a part? Could I help? Could I give? So that's how we was able to get it done. Amazing.
Oh yes, that's a blessing. Ele conseguiu de orçamento, o orçamento custou $300 mil, né? Mas o orçamento ideal seria 500 mil. Só que o que acontece? Muita gente começou a fazer favor, então assim, ele conseguiu reduzir esse filme por quase, não vamos falar metade, né? Mas eu falo que ele conseguiu aí $200 mil de desconto, graças a pessoas de boa vontade que falavam assim, olha, eu quero fazer esse filme acontecer, eu quero te ajudar, vamos contar essa história. Então ele conseguiu fazer por $300 mil. Então esse que foi o orçamento do filme. Okay, so I think film-wise, unless you have anything to share at the end. Right now, let me ask you about Don, because that's something the youth asks. But think about it. That is a question I ask every night before going to bed. Is there really life after death? I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. I'm a Catholic. I'm a devoted Catholic. But sometimes, when we're facing hardships, we ask ourselves, I mean, seriously, so why is God making me go through this? I recently came out of an experience in the United States that I was thinking, wow, this is a job. And all of a sudden, it didn't pan out, and I thought, okay, so God gave me this, but he took it away. So, and he made so many promises because I could tell through prayer, whenever we pray, it's God calling us to pray. It's whenever we pray, it's actually God talking to us. It's not us talking to God because he can hear us. He reads our mind. So when we're praying, it's God talking to us. So whenever we're praying, it's just God. It's God saying things to us. So in my moments of prayer, I was asking God, so is this actually real? So I need some kind of proof, and I keep on searching these near death experiences to actually feel it, because that's a way to feel closer to God. Whenever I'm weak in faith, I seek these stories because they're beyond inspiring, and they prove to me that there is something beyond the realm. So well, the question that I was going to ask is, sorry about preaching. That wasn't the purpose, but I was going to ask is what it is actually to die, because to simply put, you died and you came back. So what is it like to die? I mean, I know this question is inevitable, so I might as well just ask it. What is it like to die?
Well, for me, honestly, it was wonderful. I mean, when I died and I floated towards the clouds, I saw my body laying on the ground, right, in the pool of blood, because I had an angel that came and got me, and she said, "Let's go home," right? So she took me home, which was heaven. Now, this is what happened to me. Everybody have their own version of what happens, but my version is I floated towards these clouds, right? And the closer I got to these clouds, the more I felt an array of peace coming over me. I felt so good. And I got in front of these clouds, and a window opened right in front of me. And through those clouds, down in there, I saw a huge city. I saw colors. I've never seen colors before like that on earth. Beautiful, radiant colors. I saw sparkles of light floating through the city, and I saw angel wings going in and out these lights. And I'm like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I'm thinking, is this a dream? And I'm trying to push my way inside, right? I'm pushing to go inside because I was floating. And all of a sudden, I heard people talking, and God spoke to me. See, when God speaks to us, he doesn't speak to our flesh. He speaks to our spirit man or our spirit woman. He speaks to our soul. That's the way God communicates with us. So he spoke to me and said, it's not yet your time. Go back. There's a message I need you to deliver to my people, a message of forgiveness and triumph over tragedy. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go back. I said, don't do this to me. I don't want to go back to that cruel world. Because I'm telling you, Brother Rodriguez, when you get there to heaven, all of the cares about this world, all of your concerns, and I wouldn't worry about my wife or my mother, my brothers, my sisters, my friends. All of the cares go away because you feel like they're going to be all right. Everything is going to be all right. It's like there's no more worries. I didn't feel like there's no more sickness. There's no pain. It just can't be there. Everything is pure love. And I felt God's love come around me in the form of a cloud. And he held me there. And that's when he spoke to me and said, go back. And I didn't want to come back, man. I wanted to stay. And the third time, first time he said my name, Tony, go back. He said it again. I need you to go back. And he said, Tony, I need you to go back to deliver a message to my people. And I heard this blow, like wind blowing. It was real settled. It wasn't no hard wind. It was just real settled wind blowing, right? And I began to go backwards, my hand going through clouds. And I breathed. And when I breathed, I was on life support at the hospital. And the doctors were about to put a sheet over my head. But when I breathed, the doctor screamed, ah! And he dropped the sheet and he ran out the room. I could not believe that I came back here. I just couldn't believe it because I wanted to stay. It's so beautiful. It's so much love and joy. No pains, no worries, no shame, no why me. I want to stay there. But God had a message and I had to come back to deliver the message of forgiveness. And that's why I'm here. I know there's difficult times for you. It's difficult time for all of us, but do we allow those times to dictate where we go in our lives? And see, another thing, we have to be careful because sometimes we'll think it's the voice of God and it can be the voice of the devil or our flesh. Because the devil will tell us, well, this is what you need to be doing. This is what God wants you to do. And that's not God. Sometimes it can be the devil, the enemy, I called it. So we have to be careful and make sure, is that really God? And the way that you know that that's God, because it would line up with his word. Now, if it's something that you're doing that doesn't line up, let's say there's something crazy or foolish, and you saying, okay, I'm praying for God for that. God's not going to bless that because that's not what he does. But the devil will set you up to tear you down with that. But when you pray and believe God for great things that can help, let's say kingdom building, to encourage somebody, like what I do, to influence somebody for something good, something great, whether you be a multimillionaire or whether you be a poor person, as long as your heart is right, as long as you're doing the right things, I believe that God will open up those doors. And it does, a lot of time it doesn't happen right away. I went through a lot of turbulence trying to get that film done. It took me, 9 years to finish my film because I kept going through a lot of fighting with stuff with the producer. And, thank goodness I own the rights to my entire film, 100%. But it's just the fact that I had to do things, I had to wrestle with people to do what I needed to be done to get the film the way it should be. It still wasn't totally where I wanted to be, but the message is there. So I have to settle with the message and keep going until maybe it be reproduced again. Who knows? The way I totally want it to be. But again, just keep walking in your faith, Brother Rodriguez, and just trust God, man. I know we get weary and well-doing. We get weary, we get tired. I'm tired of waiting so long. But the Bible said, they that wait upon God, he will renew your strength. He's going to give you the strength to keep going until your time comes, until that day comes where you can get your breakthrough. It will come if you faint not in doing good, if you don't give up. I believe that it will come. I didn't give up. It took me a while, but I didn't give up, man. I got weary. I got tired of being tired. I got sick of folk. I got tired of foolishness, but I kept going. You just can't give up. I'm preaching now, huh?
Well, that's beautiful. I mean, this is a place. And how old were you when you were shot? When this whole incident happened to you? This life changing moment of yours? How old were you back then?
Oh my goodness. I am 59 now. That was in 2003. So I don't have my calculator. I don't
Oh, I
how
see.
many years ago was, but that was a while ago, you know.
Você tem mais uma pergunta, Júlia?
Não, finalizei.
So we both want to thank you. I mean, not only us, but also the audience was going to watch this whole thing, and I believe this is going to change a lot of lives, and this is going to inspire a lot of people. So we want to thank you for this conversation and for this time we had to dedicate to us here in Brazil.
Yes, I must visit Brazil one day. You know, maybe someone would pull me over there. You know, I'll say, "Hey, I'm in Brazil." So, hey, that'd be great. You know, I'm also working on another film project. Well, writing the script to Southern Story as well. So I'm staying busy over here.
Quero agradecer mais uma vez, dizer que a história dele é muito forte, muito bonita e que é uma luz realmente quando a gente acha que não tem mais esperança, sempre tem uma esperança e que Deus é maior que tudo isso que a gente pode entender, compreender. Então agradeço de coração e virei fã e seguirei nas redes sociais, enfim.
Wonderful, and tell her to keep us informed too of her progress with her uh, film endeavors. You know, we would like to, you know, because I love to read and hear other script writers what they're thinking and what they perceive life to be. So keep us informed as well.
É,
That's wonderful.
ele também então deseja para você o melhor ali na sua jornada como de artes cênicas e por que não como escritora, já que ele adora, assim, ele é um tipo de trabalho que o inspira muito. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll be able to have this kind of conversation when the next film comes up.
Yes. Okay, Brother Rodriguez. Take care and God bless you both, okay?